What's going on, guys? It's Rest, and in today's video I wanted to go over my Anarchy Amara build. I made this build a while back, and back then it absolutely destroyed, but with a lot of changes I wanted to revisit it and see how well it still performed. The build has changed around a little bit due to having more skill points and buffs and nerfs of weapons, and also just how some of the new interactions work. This build is definitely stronger than it has ever been, and it can get you through everything in the game. So if that interests you, as always, my builds are located in my Discord channel if you would like to download them. The link for my Discord will be in the description. If you download the build, enjoy the video, find it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, as it really helps me out and I truly appreciate it. But with all that being said, let's get right into this crazy build. Alright, so starting off, as you see, we're only going to be running the Anarchy, and on this Anarchy I have an Anoint or on Accents, so then you get 100% bonus damage for a short time. This is really good. This is also a ×20 variant of the Anarchy, and if you don't know what the Anarchy does, essentially every automatic reload or kill is going to grant you 30% damage, and it stacks up to 10 times. Now, if you actually reload the gun yourself, it's going to take all those Anarchy stacks away, and you're not going to be doing a lot of damage with it until you keep reprocking all the stacks again. But this has actually been changed, so now if you go down and fight your life and get back up, you still are going to have your stacks, and even if you go in your inventory, you still have the stacks once you come out. So those two changes alone are very good quality of life changes. Alone, this gun still just shreds. Once you get all 10 stacks, you're doing 300% more damage, which is absolutely insane, on top of the Anoint doing more damage. Now, another secret thing with the Anarchy is that it also does splash damage, so any splash damage bonuses that you have are actually going to buff the Anarchy as well. So the way you want to use the Anarchy is to just never reload the gun and always keep those damage stacks up. Now, to complement the Anarchy, I'm going to be running a Phase Zerker right here with +5 in clarity, which is going to help out really well with the build that I'm running, which we'll get into in a second. But this is giving me 33% more splash damage, 29% more weapon damage, and 59% TDO weapon accuracy. Now, the splash damage and weapon damage is obviously really good for the Anarchy. The TDO weapon accuracy, in my opinion, is very good, but I know some people probably won't like this. But again, the way that Anarchy works is the more stacks you get, the less accurate the gun gets. So once you're at max stacks, you're losing a ton of accuracy, but you're doing an insane amount of damage. This TDO weapon accuracy, because the Anarchy is a TDO weapon, is giving you a lot more accuracy, and even with a lot of Anarchy stacks, you still have a decent amount of accuracy. Plus, paired with some of our skills we're going to be running, it's going to just be a normal reticle even when you're at 10 stacks. But we'll get into those skills in a second. Now, for the artifact, I run the Pearl of Knowledge with more fire rate, more magazine size. This is just really good for damage. It's really easy to proc. Since you're shooting 20 pellets, you're going to easily get that max damage bonus. The fire rate's good for DPS. The magazine size is also really good. Once you get to 10 stacks, you can have a huge magazine size, so where you could just keep firing away. Now for grenades, I'm just running It's Piss, and I have 4 different ones with all the ASC anoints. This is basically just a slat grenade. You can throw it on an enemy, and you're going to do 20% more damage to them. And it also takes status effects away from enemies, but that's not that big of a deal. Now for the shield, I'm actually running on Adrenaline Initiative, and if you can't get the Adrenaline Initiative, the Rough Rider is just another good option. And the reason I'm running this is because this is giving you more weapon damage, and you're taking reduced damage. Plus, this one also is giving you 50% more max health. This one is just overall, in my opinion, better than the Rough Rider, but the Rough Rider does give you more damage reduction, so it could be better for survivability. But I like the Adrenaline Initiative because you get more damage, which is really good. Now, I have 2 more over here with Incendiary and Corrosive, and this has a shotgun with all the ASC noise just to pair with all 3 of your action skill elements that you can get into. And the reason I'm running this is because the survivability from this skill actually comes from damage reduction itself. We're not going to have an insane amount of healing except from clarity, but we're going to have a ton of damage reduction between this and some of our skills. That is how my older build is themed around, but instead I was using a Stone class mod instead of the Phase Zerker. But honestly, the Phase Zerker is just beyond better. Now getting into the skills, I'm going to be going to Mystical Assault. I'm putting 5 points to do harm, so we can get more action skill damage, and we're going to have max rush stacks at all times due to the Phase Zerker, and we're going to be running Ties That Bind as well, so we can do a lot of damage to the chain targets. And next, I'm putting 5 points of Restless to get 25% more cooldown rate. And the reason I'm taking this is because the General Initiative is giving you 0 shields, which means you will not have topped off Guardian rank perk active. So this is going to help that cooldown rate come back, and it's also going to make it just a very consistent build. Your cooldown rate is always going to be the exact same because you don't have to worry about your shields coming in and out. Your whole cooldown rate is completely based on just this and your Phase Zerker. Then next, I'm putting 3 points in Transcendence, so we get 38% more accuracy and 27% more critical hit damage, which is really good. The accuracy is especially good for the Anarchy. This can actually be stacked twice since you're going to be running an avatar. And the accuracy you're going to get on top of your class mod is absolutely insane. It's just going to have a normal weapons accuracy, and you could just shred through enemies. Now I'm putting 2 points on alacrity because I have to get down towards the bottom. And alacrity is honestly better than fast hands in this situation because we're not really swapping weapons or mode switch speed. And this is going to give you a little bit more reload speed when you're at max rush stacks, which we will always be at max rush stacks thanks to the phase archer. Now I'm putting 1 point in ascendant so we can run soul sap, and we can pretty much get our health back to max after we kill an enemy with Ties that Bind, which is really good. 3 points of late bear, so all our chain targets with Ties that Bind take 25% more damage. 3 points of wrath, so we get 20% more gun damage, 20% more after you pop an active skill. I have 3 points in awakening to get 30% more rush stack effectiveness, which is going to buff our do harm. Now if you want to take 1 point out of wrath and put it in remnant, you can to spawn an overkill orb, because the overkill orb is just going to do an insane amount of damage, but you don't really need it. So that's why I just put my last point in wrath. But then 1 point in avatar, so like I said, we can pop our action skill twice for cooldown, and we get 10 more rush stacks to do even more damage with our action skill. Now next skill tree is Fist of Elements. I have 5 points in Diffusion, so we can convert our Anarchy to do whatever element, action element we're doing. So 40% of our damage done with this is going to be whatever element. So like I said, we have access to all three, and we can swap between the shield and grenades. But then I have 3 points in steady hands, so we get more handling and more accuracy. Again, more accuracy is going to help out with this a lot. At 10 stacks, you're going to have just an insane amount of accuracy still, and you can slay everything. 1 point in Illuminated Fist, because I have to get down the Ties that Bind. And this is also really good. Since the Anarchy is doing a lot of burst damage, it's going to make Groundbreaker actually do a lot of damage as well. So you can do a lot of damage really quick, kill 2 or 3 enemies, and then your melee is going to just be able to like one shot like bigger enemies. It's kind of crazy. 5 points of Tempest, so we can buff our elemental damage. Tempest is pretty much a necessary skill for any Amara build. 1 point in Dread, so whenever we phase grasp an enemy, which is Ties that Bind, we're going to do 15% more gun damage to them. And whenever we kill an enemy, our gun is automatically reloaded. This is actually really good for the Anarchy, because when you're at max stacks, killing a phase grasp target is actually going to reload the gun completely, and you don't have to worry about ever having to manually reload the gun accidentally, or just having the downtime of reloading the gun itself. So then finally in Brawl, I'm putting 5 points of clarity, which is getting up to 10 with our class mod. So we regenerate 10% of our missing health, and when we use action skill, this is actually doubled to 20%, which is really good. This is going to be a lot of our health regeneration from this, on top of Soul Sap giving us health. And so those two paired together make this really good. Now 3 points of personal space, so whenever we're close to an enemy, you don't want to be too close, because like I said, the Anarchy does do splash damage. But whenever we are close to an enemy, this does have a huge radius, so we can do bonus damage, which is really good. I have 5 points in Arms Deal, so we can take a little bit of that splash damage reduction to not die as much, and we get 20% more splash damage, which is very helpful to let the Anarchy do even more damage. Then finally 4 points in Helping Hands to get 35% damage reduction every time you use an action skill. This is pretty much always going to be procced if you're managing your action skills correctly, just like your Anoint on your Anarchy. And on top of that damage reduction, the general initiatives also giving you damage reduction, which is going to help you just be really tanky. Then you have Clarity healing you, which is healing all that damage. Soul Sap healing you. Also Arms Deal is letting you get a little bit of splash damage reduction. So all in all, this is a very tanky build, and a build that can just do an insane amount of damage and destroy everything. So that is it for the Anarchy Amara build. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want a build that plays around a bunch of just stacking up different buffs and doing a lot of damage, this is definitely the build for you. Between your Anarchy stacks and rush stacks, you're gonna have to manage those, but if you manage them correctly, you just destroy everything. You can mob very well, you can boss very well, and like I said in the beginning of the video, you can just get through anything that you need to. Now also, like I said in the beginning of the video, my builds are located in my Discord channel if you would like to download them. Link to the Discord will be in the description. If you download the build, enjoy the video, or find it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, as it really helps me out and I truly appreciate it. But that's going to do all for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Two-face killer, go gorilla for the bag. That boy be a pussy, kill the vibe, he a drag. Autobiography gon' look like a brag. Let's get to the money.